Well, it's that time for me to do mine. Um, my name is Mark, and I am a stage 4 adrenal cortical carcinoma cancer warrior. Um, my journey begins roughly in May of 2017 with a misdiagnosis for kidney cancer that was never totally done. And so it's weird because I was in the hospital for a week with lung problems and back pain. And come to find out, I only had bronchitis. So they gave me a bunch of weird drugs and sent me home. But they never addressed the big mass that the CT machine found over my left kidney. So we went back 2 weeks later because I got sick again. And by this time, the mass had grown. To give you a brief background, the mass original size in the first CT scan was 14 centimeters, is what they measured. And the doctor decided, well, let's just wait and see and do some tests later. We'll set up a CT scan for 3 weeks from now and we'll blah, blah, blah this. And that never happened because it was never able to happen. When I went back 2 weeks later, the mass had grown another 2 centimeters and was pushing up on my left diaphragm enough that it was actually partially collapsing my left lung. So it went from a wait and see, let's take some more tests, to we need to schedule an emergency surgery for as soon as possible to remove the mass, regardless of what it was. They did, however, take the time to do a biopsy, which in hindsight they probably should not have done. And then they embolized the whole upper left quadrant, including kidney, spleens, etc. So, June of 2017, I had my first surgery. They cut me across the front, basically filleted me open like a fish. This is how I like to call it, but it was from side to side. They did such an invasive surgery that it took 4 months for me to recover enough to go back to work. And during the surgery, they removed my left kidney, my left adrenal gland, a now 16 centimeter, 6-pound mass that the doctors asked me to name, which I gladly did. I named it Darth Locutus. For those of you in the sci-fi world, you'll know what both of those names mean. But the surgery was not without its difficulties. They had to remove not only those organs, but my spleen as well. I actually had 2 spleens, 2 full-size spleens, go figure. And a bunch of what they call splenulas, little white nodules that basically baby spleens. So I currently have no spleen. I bruise real easy. As a recent hospital visit will attest, how black my stomach was from all the Lovenox shots. So, moving on. After the surgery, I spent 4 months recovering, going through cabin fever, my wife standing by my side, helping me as much as she could, dealing with her own health issues that she put on the back burner for me. And in October, when I finally went back to work, we addressed her issues, which, come to find out, she had kidney stones in her left kidney and a large mass growing on her right. They did a biopsy of the right mass and determined it was nothing. They said it was some fatty stuff. Problem was, it was already the size of her kidney. And so we were trying to get that taken care of. So over the course of between a CT scan I had in late September and one I had in late January, another mass grew inside me in the same area as the first one. So we didn't find out about mine until after we took care of Tammy's problems. When they found mine, they weren't sure exactly what it was, because they said it wasn't reading as solid as a solid mass, but it wasn't reading as blood. They thought it was just another fluid mass that had built up. And so we were kind of optimistic that that's what it was, but in my heart I knew it wasn't. I knew what it was. It had come back. Unfortunately, 3 days after that CT scan, my wife tragically passes away. And come to find out, it was as a result of that large mass from her right kidney. But we're not going to get into hers. Her death was tragic, sudden, and in the past, as it were. I think about her every day. Moving back onto mine, we did another biopsy of my mass. Did another one again. In hindsight, should not have done it, because they determined it was the adrenal cancer had come back. This time it went stage 3. The first one was probably stage 2 or stage 3 because of what it took. This one was stage 3 because it took 8 inches of my large intestine and 3 inches of my upper diaphragm. This time they did the same surgery as the last. However, the mass was also smaller. When they first found it, it was 7 centimeters at the end of January. By mid-March, when I had the surgery of last year, mid-March of 2018, the mass had grown to 12.5 centimeters, so about 4 pounds. And so they removed it. The surgery took almost as long as the first one because they had to repair my diaphragm and do a bowel resection. However, the recovery time was only 8 weeks, or 2 months this time, because I knew what I had to do to get better. I couldn't vegetate anything beyond that. So I've had NED results twice in a row, but both times were short-lived, 4 to 6 months each time. After the second surgery, I went through the radiation, did a month and a half of that, and at the end of the radiation, there showed no signs in the original tumor bed where the titanium targets were, around where the left kidney was. But they didn't look at the lungs, so they said everything was clean and clear in June. By August, excuse me, it's been a long day. At the beginning of August, I had another CT scan that went from pelvis to neck, and they found nodules growing in my lower left lung of varying sizes, from small millimeter size to the largest ones being 2.5 centimeters, which is roughly an inch in diameter. And they found more on the right side, on the upper right lung, the largest measuring about 5 millimeters. Fortunately, during this time, they had sent a piece of my second tumor, which I named Junior, off to be tested at a laboratory out of state, a special genome testing facility. And unfortunately, they could find no genome-specific drugs for chemotherapy to help with my tumor. They did, however, discover that since my version of adrenal cancer is more genetic than hormone related, they found a immunotherapy drug that would actually worked. So I've been on it since August. I've had 6 treatments, and since then I've had acute renal failure. My thyroid has gone down to pot, and my liver function is starting to go out of whack. So, though I am not doing any worse than I was before, I'm not doing any better yet. However, I am still here. I'm still fighting, and so far the results of the immunotherapy are positive, and I have more scans coming up soon, and I am working. I have to work. I don't have a choice. It's just me now. And I wish everybody the best of luck in their journeys as warriors, caregivers, and families. I am blessed to have a wonderful church family that helps me out whenever I need it. I have found a lot of organizations outside the government in my state. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm being treated at the University of Tennessee Medical Center. I've been blessed also to be treated by not just a doctor whose name is on a placard on the wall of these offices, but I'm being treated by the head. I was being treated by the head radiation oncologist, the senior professor of surgical oncology from the university, or for the surgeries. He is not only the senior professor, but he is also the head doctor when it comes to performing surgery at the hospital itself. I also have the lead chemotherapy doctor at the hospital. The University of Tennessee is a research hospital as well. However, as rare as this cancer is, and I forgot to mention that I am 1 in a million, the mortality rate for this cancer is not good. Many don't make it past 5 years. A lot of times certain drugs don't work. Most drugs don't work. They might slow the progression, but they don't stop the cancer. This cancer is relentless. There are a few people that I've seen make it out past 10, 20 years. One gentleman I saw made it 20 years and it came back. Unfortunately, it came back with such aggression that there is now no longer any way to treat it. And so he is in hospice care. I am hoping that I will not make it that far. I'm hoping to beat this completely and 100%. Anyway, as I was saying, I wish everybody the best of luck, and I wish everyone healing over their bodies and their minds. And thank you for all the support that everyone has given. And this is my cancer journey as of today. There is more to come soon. Thank you.